let's get trimmed. Okay, if you haven't watched my Pottery 101 on trimming, go do that now. Come back. This demo, I'm gonna kick it up a notch. I'm gonna do a couple of different pots. Keep in mind that when you're throwing your pot, you should already have in mind how you're gonna trim it so that you can throw the pot the way you need to. Remember, trimming, it's not just about shaping a pot, it's about giving it personality, it's about how it sits on a surface and how it feels in your hand. All right, grab some tools. Here's some of my favorites. All right, got lugs? Classic way to get your pottery on the wheel for trimming. Put it as center as possible, a little between my fingers gently to kind of get it centered. Then I'm going to check with my pin tool up at the top where the foot is. You always center from the foot. Then once you kind of see where it's a little off, that'll be where your mark is. Move it a little, not a lot. Best to do a little and then check again. Once you've got it centered, lugs. It's just clay, wet clay. You put it down next to it and you push down. Turn it 90 degrees, get 2 more pieces and push down. You don't want to push it in because you don't want to squeeze your pot, you don't want to move your pot. You just want to create a secure barrier. Okay. Always, once you get that on, check it again in case you have to make any adjustments. This pot, kind of going to go down and dirty here. It's a cylinder. I just want it to be straight, and I just go in there and I make sure the sides are straight. And then I'm going to come on top, and I decided, sure, that's where the foot ring can go, and I start pushing down. And I'm just putting in a foot here, kind of bulbs over, so I want to, make sure that that corner's nice and tight. Keep going. Ooh, got a little fast. Get that side going. Now let's go in. Do notice how I go in deep. I create that nice groove. Then I get the center out, and then I come in and will thin out my foot. And just look at that go. Ooh. Notice the ribbons are clay. That's when you know you're just at that perfect leather hard. So I come in here, I'm shaping. Look, there's, it's lovely, it's nice. Just a little there, hovers nicely. But how does it feel? Is it bottom heavy? I like to do that because you can kind of feel when it's not quite even. And this is my little thing. How'd we do? Did not do well because I wasn't looking at the inside, seeing the shape that it makes. I got a great straight outside, but look at this. Look at that curve. See how much I should have been trimming? That would make a balanced pot in the hand. This pot is very bottom heavy. So look inside. If you look down and you're like, ooh, look at that curve, your outside should mimic that curve. If you wanted this to be straight outside, then you should have gotten rid of all that extra clay with a rib and made it nice and 90 degrees. All right, step 2, living chuck. Living chuck, basically it's like you're centering a pot, but you make a nice convex, almost cone-like mound of clay. Get rid of all of that slippy goodness because it's no longer goodness. You don't want to trash your rim. Much like with the lugs, you kind of put it in the center, you finesse it, gentle fingers. And then once you kind of sort of get it there as much as you can, use your trimming tool and a gentle spin and make a mark to see where it's a little bit too much. See, oh, look there it goes. Woof. That little mark there, that tells you it's too close on that side. Push it over a little. What's good about a living chuck is if you have uneven rims, you can push one side down more so that your bottom is flat. If a pot is really crazily uncentered and uneven, could be an issue, but this is one way to help. So this is going to be the simplest trim ever. I just want to make this into a nice, cylinder. I trim my outside, I get that to be as 90 degrees as possible, and then all you need to do, if your bottom is thin, 1/4 inch or less, just smooth it over. And you're compressing it, you're getting all the grog and sand that might be in there, compressed in there, nice, just smooth it over. Trimming marks is an aesthetic thing and it's up to you. Glazes can accentuate it or hide it. Keep that in mind as you were trimming. Let's see how I did on this. Very solid, very 90-degree, very flat bottom. Look at that sit on the table. It is solid, it just grows from it. Give and grip, the third way, my way, because I have one. All right, notice the 3 feet, they are on a spiral. As you spin it, they get closer and further away. You just put your pot in the dead center as much as you can and tighten it. Yeah, same pot that I just had. Get it in the center. I'm going to, because this one is actually not thin, here's just a little variation. So I come in there, it might look like I'm going in at an angle, but I'm actually angled but pushing down, just getting that little rollover there. I'm going to remove some of the center to make it a less heavy pot. Notice how thick I leave the foot ring while I remove everything in the center. Hedges my bets in case anything happened. Once I get my center thinned out, I will then angle my foot ring. Some people like a foot ring on a cup, hot tasty beverage, to keep it up and away from a wooden table surface. So kind of think about that when you're doing foot rings. It's good to keep in mind how a pot will meet a surface. Here I go. I'm just rolling it over gently. Let's see how this turned out. But look how it sits on the table. Just that little undercut kind of lifts it up. Nice wide foot. Yeah, just a little bit of an uplift. It's a tiny little detail. A twist and a roll over. This pot here, pretty much the same as the last pot. So we're just kind of getting a nice straight side. A little roll over for stuff that sticks out. It's going so fast. So I come in here, I once again do my groove. I don't have to take that much away, but notice how wide I'm making the foot. So I can get everything out of the center. Yeah, use my finger. I make that gentle kind of curve over. A little water. Okay, here's the thing. A little water, smooth it out. Adding water, because leather hard. I am just taking this, and if you can see the way the edge is going, it rolls over. It creates an undercup, creates an edge. Really good if you have a runny glaze. But it just cradles your cup on the table. All right, let's do a tall foot. Okay, look at that 90-degree inside. That's really wonderful. See how it splays out at the bottom there. That gave it support. And it's maybe 3/4 of an inch. So we need to get the side straight in this pot. So I'm kind of rolling over the edge and then going down. And if you notice, this pot just shimmy, shimmy, shimmy. Not the most center thing I've ever done. But I'm going to keep going because maybe you need to see this. So right now I'm going up and down so I can get that extra bit off and have it as straight as possible. But what I can do here is, you can see how off it is. I'm using pin tool to create where my foot ring will be. And I'm just going to keep going. Just going to keep going. I'm pushing down. I'm kind of using this because I can push down right up against where I have my mark and just push down and just keep going. But yeah, look how it's fighting me. Yeah. So I'm pushing down, I'm trying to create that edge, trying to watch my foot ring rise up. Go in, make sure that I keep that nice straight angle. I'm not doing the foot, I'm just getting what popped up. Now, I'm gonna come in, look how kind of deep I'm going there. Once again, that way, good groove's gonna keep that barrier out. And I'm still fighting it. You can kind of see that. Kind of see where the one side's higher than the other. But I'm going to come in here, I'm going to do my center, get that nice and shallow or deep, depending on how you're looking at things. But clear all that out. That deep groove means that if something goes wrong, I won't take out my foot ring. Angle that out a little. Clean it all up. Yeah, not the best thing I've thrown. Sometimes I'm studying what not to do, but it's still a pot. Okay. Yeah. This one bummed me out because I was just fighting, but I'm like, yeah, but you do the best. This is why I'm glad that when you're using a pot, it's not spinning. No one will know. All right. Once I smooth it all out, but see how this hovers. I hate it so much I brought in another cup that does the same thing. But it does hover. It's nice. But you know what I am going to do, since I don't like this cup? Ta-da! Crazy how even. Look how even that is. So even a pot that you're fighting with doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad pot. But there's the other one that I cut in half. See how like different the inside is? Ooh, let's go round. One. I know. Okay, I'm gonna kind of do this quickly. So keep in mind I'm pushing down. Even though I might be on an angle, I'm still pushing down, and I'll push down and roll over. This is a very simple trim. This is kind of like the cylinder pot that grows from it. Same thing. Notice how I come on and I start to roll up. I'm no longer holding it like a pencil. I have my finger out towards the tip because I like to roll over. And then I'm going to smooth out and compress the bottom. Simple. See how this one kind of grows, but it's bulbous, it's solid. 2. All right. This one, we're going to go a little bit more fancy. When you like stuff that really is wide over on the edge, just pinch it off as it spins. Now, once again, I'm kind of pushing down and rolling over, pushing down and rolling over. See how, woo, going so fast. This is time lapse. Go on, people. Okay, part of trimming is also knowing about your tools and how, depending on how you use it, angle it, what shapes you can get. So this one I'm kind of rolling up, but not completely going up to the top. And you'll notice that this one I'm now switched and I'm kind of rolling, using it from the bottom and not the top to kind of scrape it in. I'm angling it up. I'm kind of rolling it, and then see how I'm going up on the bottom. And you can see how I'm getting a little bit of a foot ring showing through. I don't like that tool. I'm gonna get my favorite tool, little band tool. This I love using with this particular foot. So it's might not be as balanced as usual because I leave more clay on to get this curve to it. But I'm kind of rolling up, and when I'm doing it really right, basically my fan tool creates that curve. Get rid of the center. But yeah, totally. Experiment with the different shapes and marks that your trimming tools make. And you'll find some trimming tools that you love. All right, let me finish this up, clean it all up. And look at that. It's a gentle, fun curve up. Feels good in your hand. Ooh, now what? 3. Okay, once again, tall foot. But instead of keeping this one round and curvy, we're going to do a little something different. I'm going to say create a flange for the foot ring to kind of float with. So using the shape of my fan to create the shape, notice how it's more angle and straight than curving around the pot, giving kind of a definite edge and detail to where the curviness ends and the foot area begins. Great way to not glaze that area to show off the raw clay. Pretty sweet. Once again, detail on the foot, getting it nice and tall. Yeah, if you get a lot of clay boogies, a lot of times, yeah, I use my finger in front of the tool to collect them and get rid of them. Okay, we've got the flange out, we've got our foot ring, smooth it over. Just look at that. Like, there's just so much you can do that. It just rises it up. It's, a little bit dramatic. Simple detail though. And lastly, so now we're going to go for kind of a classic paw foot. So once again, I kind of start at the same spot where I'm rolling over and rolling over, but then I'm going to come in here, I'm going to decide, like, yeah, right there. Make that mark, and I'm going to start pushing that in. And that's how I keep my, if you haven't noticed, I always keep my hands kind of still together, you know, supporting and help controlling where they're touching at some point. Keep that in mind as you're also trimming. So this one, I'm rolling over and just kind of trying to get like just a nice, bulbous, wonderful curve. Go make my groove, get the center of my foot ring out. You know, if you just do a light line, that's just not going to help you. Go deep. And you have to know how deep your foot ring is by, you know, sticking your hand in there and making that judgment. So this one, once I get everything out, I'm going to smooth it all over. Well, you know what? I will pick it up. I pick things up. And I'm in there and I'm like, okay, yeah, I can get a little bit more right on that curve. Yeah. Pick things up. It's beautiful, also gift and grip. I can pick things up and get rid of what I need to get rid of. And just make that just a little more and then smooth it out. Ugh. That feels so good in your hand. Like this is my favorite tea bowl. But I mean, it just tippy toes. And it's, all three, all different. All kind of the same pots in the beginning, and now see how 3 different ways. You don't have to keep trimming the same way. These, cylinder, curved, solid. These, look at how they hover, how they lift up, all the different bottoms. Okay. Go get creative. Bye-bye.